Tulsi Gabbard's best efforts to suck up to Donald Trump and essentially ingratiate herself with the president has led to calls to essentially fire her as the head of national intelligence. Now, why is that? Well, there's a new Wall Street Journal piece out. The title is Tulsi Gabbard blindsided CIA over revoking clearance of undercover officer. Now, not only did she revoke an undercover officer's clearance, she also identified this individual, which is insane. So look, however you feel about the CIA, however you feel about the intelligence community, just coming out and identifying people like this is very dangerous for the person who's being identified and their family members. So how were they blindsided? Well, Gabbard blew the agent's cover in a tweet along with the names of 36 other current and former intel officials whose clearances she revoked. And her reasons for doing so were vague, but I think you can put two and two together, right? Again, she's like desperately trying to ingratiate herself with Trump after she, for like 5 seconds, did her job appropriately, admitted in a hearing that Iran was not building nuclear weapons. That upset Trump, because he's a bitch for Israel, of course, and he has to do Israel's bidding, including bombing Iran's nuclear sites. And so, she took some lashings, and now she's bringing up Russiagate again to ingratiate herself with Trump. So she wrote on X, being entrusted with a security clearance is a privilege, not a right. Those in the intelligence community who betray their oath to the Constitution and put their own interests ahead of the interests of the American people have broken the sacred trust they promised to uphold. This is why, at President Trump's direction, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence directed the revocation of the security clearances of 37 current and former intelligence professionals who have abused the public trust by politicizing and manipulating intelligence, leaking classified intelligence without authorization, and or committing intentional egregious violations of tradecraft standards. Now, of course, she didn't specify what they leaked or provide any evidence of wrongdoing. I mean, that's what transparency would look like. But most of the 37 people had either participated in intelligence assessments related to Russia's attempts to influence the outcome of the 2016 US presidential election, or had signed a 2019 letter calling for President Trump's impeachment. So it seems like this, again, is yet another attempt to punish anyone who upset Donald Trump or crossed Donald Trump in some way. And it may also be another demonstration of incompetence because, as the Journal reports, Gabbard did not know the CIA officer had been working undercover. Seems like something you should know as head of DNI, right? Head of National Intelligence. Now, the CIA official whose clearance was revoked last week is a longtime Russia hand at the agency, meaning his investigations and undercover work has to do with Russia. The officer has held intelligence posts for more than 20 years and worked from 2014 to 2017 as an expert on Russia and Eurasia on the National Intelligence Council, according to a publicly listed biography. Now, security clearance allow a person to handle secret documents, obviously, and are an essential part of working in intelligence. So revoking someone's security clearances effectively terminates their employment. Cenk.
Not that, and not just that, it terminates their career. You might be able to get a job doing something else, maybe tangentially, but your multi-decade career is wiped out in an instant once you lose your security clearance. So, look, she talked about breaking a sacred trust. Well, I don't know that it gets any more sacred trust than an undercover agent for America, and you just put his name out there and endanger his life, let alone his career. So that's definitely breaking a sacred trust. And your job at DNI is to literally coordinate all the different intelligence agencies. So if you don't coordinate with the CIA before you out 37 CIA agents, you have done a miserable job at your chosen profession. I mean, You just literally can't do worse than that. No coordination, vomit out a list, end their careers, include an undercover agent in there. It's just, it's shameful. Now, the only thing worse is why, right? So I've lost all faith in our government and our institutions, as have a huge percentage of Americans, and that you should lose faith in it. So why? So first of all, you have, the politicians that don't work for us at all. They just work for their donors, period. And that's true under Republicans and Democrats. So the country didn't want us to give more money to Israel in the middle of a genocide. And Biden was like, shut up, I'm gonna give it to them. Because why? AIPAC's a top donor. What does Trump say? He says the same exact thing. So whether Trump wins or Biden wins, Republicans win or Democrats win, AIPAC is always in charge, right? But again, it's just, they're an interesting symbol right now, because they're a donor that happens to be in favor of genocide, and almost the entire Congress is on their side. So that's one way that you lose faith in your so-called representatives, because they're not representing you at all. And then the Democrats get into office and they say, oh, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, and then they never do it. Never. Oh, well, we couldn't, and the parliamentarian and the filibuster. And so, hey, all of our supporters and influencers yell at anyone who tells you the truth about us. And then Trump gets in and he's like, oh, my feelings were hurt because I lost the 2020 election. I wanna pretend that I didn't, so go on a political witch hunt, find anyone who won't lie for me and fire them. It's just disgusting. Just when you thought it couldn't get worse than Biden, and I did think it could get worse than Biden. That's why I voted against Trump. And yeah, it got worse. Of course it did. It always gets worse. So now Trump is like, all right, Tulsi, you once said the truth about Iran, so I almost fired you. Remember the donors are Israel. Shut up and give them the war they want, okay? So she's like, okay, sorry. And by the way, let's distract everyone. Obama committed treason. Whatever, dude. Just, yeah, no evidence, no proof, no nothing. And then, by the way, she fires these 37 people. Were they America first, Israel first, neither? I have no idea. I mean, you'll never know, because our government is totally lying to us. So she could have fired these people for a completely different reason, and we'll never find out.
Other things I want to just quickly mention in the context of this story, Tulsi Gabbard, who I had already identified as a fraud literally years ago, loves to repeatedly talk about her anti-war credentials. She's totally against regime change wars, although she's currently working for a president who in his first term tried to overthrow the leader of Venezuela, I think twice, if I'm not mistaken, and failed at it. Now, I have no love for the leader of Venezuela. I think that he obviously has crossed the line and is in authoritarian territory, is not allowing for free and fair elections. But putting that aside, I don't think the US should meddle in what's happening in countries around the world. Right now, Donald Trump has been engaging in a military buildup off the coast of Venezuela. He claims that, it's all about, I don't even know what the excuse is, to be honest with you. Now, the Chinese think that this is about oil. China relies on Venezuela for oil, and they believe the United States is trying to, undercut China by preventing them from being able to export oil from Venezuela, which, by the way, real smart at a time when we're all worried about inflation because of tariffs. Why don't you lessen the global oil supply, smart guy? But it's still, at the end of the day, what's really concerning here is he's talking about doing, military operations against cartels in Mexico. We already have CIA operating in Mexico as we speak. That's being widely reported on. You have a US military buildup off the coast of Venezuela. What happened, Tulsi? What happened to your anti-war credentials, huh? It's, this woman has fully debased herself at a time when I didn't think she could potentially debase herself anymore. So yeah. I guess congratulations, Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, so I have one last thing on this. So if anyone, Republican, Democrat, gets in office and then says, hey, look, here's what the CIA is doing wrong, and here are the receipts. So I found them either doing torture or warrantless wiretapping or my God, working against Trump or Biden, et cetera. But here's the actual proof of it, right? Here's the nefarious things they did, and I can't wait to prove it in court. I say, okay, I'm all ears. You crazy? You think I don't think that the CIA did anything wrong? No, I think the CIA probably did a lot of things wrong. So, but instead, we never get that. Never, ever, ever, okay? Until Trump, what we got was, no, shut up about the CIA. CIA is, oh, well, we have some, Democrats would say we'd have some concerns. Okay, then what's your concerns? Nothing. You never question the CIA. The CIA was doing torture. They had it on tape. Then they burned the tapes, which is totally illegal. And they did it in front of everyone. And then the Democrats covered up for him. And then the Republicans, under Trump in his first term, took the person who burned the tapes and made her head of the CIA, okay? So they aid and abet all the criminality of the CIA. So you'll excuse me if I don't believe them. Oh, trust me, bro, we have secret evidence that they were working on a treason plan with Obama. And it's not because they hurt Trump's feelings. Trust me, bro. No, I don't trust you at all. I have no faith in you at all. I think you're a giant liar. I think almost everyone in government is a giant liar. And so if they fired these people, and as usual presented no evidence, my guess is that those are probably the 37 best people at the CIA. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.